Alright, hey, what's going on there, folks? Earthmaster here. It is Monday night, 10 o'clock straight up on October 22nd, 2018. It's kind of chilly out here in California. Not really cold, though, but we're still looking at 80s for high temperatures and lows down into the 50s. So pretty much like springtime, or, I don't know, maybe fall time, I guess. Anyway, covering earthquake activity just real quick. I'm going to do a real quick recap on activity that has occurred around the globe today, and more specifically right in the Pacific Northwest area, just west of the Vancouver Island region there, where some activity took place right around this time last night, maybe a couple hours added on to that. But you can see the last about 11 earthquakes here. Well, let me zoom in just a tad bit here. Take that back. 7 earthquakes within this area here near the Cascadia subduction zone, the Cascadia Basin down here. Seattle over here to the east, and once you get up here to Vancouver Island region, the Cascadia subduction zone ends right up here a little bit, but still extends up here. This activity taking place close to the region, but it took place on the Explorer Plate, which is not normally talked about. It's just, I've never even really mentioned it in any of my videos, but it did take place in the Explorer Plate, which is a separate section up here, north of the Juan de Fuca Plate. As far as the magnitudes and the recap of the magnitudes here, it all started off with a 6.6, and then about 40 minutes later, a 6.8 struck. You can see that right there. Followed up thereafter, by about 8 minutes, by a 6.5. And these things are not right on top of one another. They're kind of spread out just a tad bit. See the 6.6 there in the blue. 6.8 there just a little bit northeast there. And then the 6.5 right over to the west. So not not on top of one another is what I'm trying to point out here. And of course the aftershock activity here is followed up by 4.9. 4.3 way down south, 4.4, and then most recently a 5.2 further down south. So kind of spread out. And if you want to check this out on a scale, these earthquakes are taking place roughly probably within about 20 to 30 miles of each other, maybe possibly a little bit further as you head down to these other aftershocks here. But I did cover a little bit of information in regards to the Explorer Plate in my update video. Well, actually, yeah, in the prior video that I did. And this kind of activity right here is just a little bit on the troublesome, worried. It's got me worried just a tad bit here, and it's not scare tactics or fear mongering, but the very sensitive or very locked zone, the Cascadia subduction zone down here, it's really nothing to mess with. So when I see this type of large activity in threes, kind of striking just on the northern part of the Cascadia area, it's just a little bit on the troublesome side. I did want to share with you guys what the USGS thinks about this and their statement in regards to this. If you haven't read it, it is on their webpage here. You got to click on the 6.8 magnitude that struck way earlier, almost 24 hours ago now. And I'll go ahead and read some of this real quick. The tectonic summary. Over the course of 43 minutes, they're claiming, on October 22nd, 2018, a series of M6.6, M6.8, and M6.5 earthquakes occurred off of Vancouver Island, Canada. These earthquakes occurred as a result of slip strike faulting at shallow depths on the boundary or within the interior of the Explorer microplate. Now, this is what I was talking about. It's kind of, these earthquakes were occurring just on the southern part of this plate called the Explorer plate. Here they're mentioning it as a microplate. Focal mechanisms, solutions for the earthquakes indicate rupture occurred on either a near vertical right lateral northwest-southeast striking fault or along a near vertical left lateral northeast-southwest striking fault. The tectonics of the Pacific margin of North America between Vancouver Island and south central Alaska are dominated by the northwest motion of the Pacific plate with respect to the North American plate at a velocity of approximately 50 mm a year. Convergence between the northern extent of the Juan de Fuca plate, also known as the Explorer microplate. Wait a minute here. I'm pretty sure these are two separate things. Why are they saying these are the same? I'm going to have to check back on that. And the North American plate dominate the regional tectonics. The Explorer Ridge along the western side of the Explorer plate and the Savanco fracture zone to the south define the boundary between the Pacific and Explorer plates to the east. Okay, blah blah blah. Although a larger earthquake cannot be ruled out, let's see right here. Although a larger earthquake cannot be ruled out, previous sequences of large, closely spaced events in this region have not resulted in larger events. But are we 100% sure of it? No. That's why they're mentioning that it cannot be ruled out. So there is definitely a possibility of a larger event occurring following all this activity here. And we'll check with that here in a second. But including an M6.6 and an M6.4 in 2008 that were separated by an hour. The Explorer microplate is heavily deformed by internal dextral faulting, experiencing frequent moderate-sized earthquakes within approximately 70 kilometers of these earthquakes. 11 earthquakes of M6 or greater have occurred since 1951. The largest previous recorded earthquake in this region was an M6.8 that occurred on December 17, 1980. But who knows what happened prior to the 1700 megaquake? The Cascadia megaquake of like 1700, right? Everyone knows about it. Everyone's heard about it. Do we know what happened? Was there a couple of these back-to-back earthquakes on the northern end that may have started all the big earthquakes in 1700? Or the big 9.0, I believe it was, is what they're stating. In 1700, sorry. We don't know for sure, folks. We're claiming that our little minor history that we've been keeping records, these folks they're trying to keep fear down, which is good, but we're not 100% certain that a bigger earthquake is not coming here within the next couple days. So it's just something to be on guard about, folks. Anywhere from the northern part of the Cascadia subduction zone, which includes Vancouver Island region, all the way down to Southern California, should be just on guard. I went out and bought just a couple cases of water, filled up the gas tank, made sure I had things in order. You never know when a big one's going to strike, folks. There's not going to be a warning. There really isn't. But anyway, I did want to share with you guys what the USGS right there had to say about this sequence of earthquakes there that occurred off the Pacific Northwest out there. Current earthquake activity here in Northern California and Nevada. There was a little bit of activity following that sequence of earthquakes there today. 3.1 near Oakhurst. That's this one down here, south or west of Mammoth Lakes, California. Northern California seeing a little bit of activity. These are all like surface type quakes, which could be the result of subduction there underneath the North American plate here. Checking out the real-time tremor. Let's refresh that real quick. Let's go with the last 12 hours of activity. That way we can see pretty much what has happened right around the time these sixes struck to right now. Most of the activity, if you look at Northern California, occurring just south of Redding area. And that's kind of where, right here, let me show you guys here. Right around here, for the most part, is a cutoff area where the subduction of the Cascadia subduction zone tends to stop. I know there's other faults and the San Andreas fault and blah 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 that extends down into Central and Southern California, but the subduction of the Juan de Fuca plate pretty much ends right around this area here, kind of on the edge, right here, and it extends up here through western northwest California into western Oregon and up into Washington and up and through here. So seeing this activity down here in the northern Sacramento Valley, which would be the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone, just tells me that there's still quite a bit of pressure within the region, and that the slow slip tremor detection system is picking up activity. And this is good that there's subduction going on there, but just be warned that there's still definitely activity occurring within this area here. It's not like this 6.8 where these 3 6s all of a sudden released a lot of pressure and voila, we're good for another 100 years. That's not the case. That's not how plate tectonics work. There's definitely pressure being transferred around the area and headed down to the south, and that's been I can confirm it just by the slow slip movement that's going on, and also these surface type quakes that are occurring up here in Northern California and parts of Central. But looking at the I'm not going to pull up this map yet for tonight, but I did include it in my other video of the plate movement, general plate movement in this area, and the with respect to where the North American plate is, the Pacific, the Juan de Fuca plate, and etc. Where they're moving, the direction that they're headed, the Explorer plate specifically, in which direction that's headed as well, tends to all point down towards the south. I'm not going to write any magical arrows on the map and say, hey, this is where it's at, but plate tectonics and the generalized motion and movement of the plates are pointing down towards Northern California region. So checking Yellowstone here real quick, folks. You can see those 3 6s. They're just now starting to kick off the map here. Let's use Maple Creek for example. You can see those 3 6s right there. 6.5, 6.8, and 6.6. Followed up by a couple small microquakes there in Yellowstone National Park. Maybe a localized bigger quake right there. But I don't see any type of swarming going on, although that larger quake right there, localized, did show up on quite a few stations here on the northwest corner of the park. So we're keeping an eye on it. I know we tend to see swarms on occasion up here at Yellowstone National Park, but if we start seeing some swarming right after those 6s, then we know something's going on there. There's definitely some squeezing going on in that area if it were to happen. But as of right now, it does not look like that's the case. So, but anyway, folks, I am going to jump off here. I just wanted to cover and do a recap on everything. And like I say, I hope everyone out there is prepared and, just stay safe out there. Have an earthquake plan. Make sure you got plenty of gas, plenty of water, food, toilet paper, beer, whatever you need out there, something that you depend on, medicine. It's always good to stock up, folks, because I'm not going to predict an earthquake. No one can predict an earthquake out here, okay? But there is generalized pressure and plate movement that people look at, and I look at, and scientists look at. And it's good to be on guard here along the west coast here over the next day. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing happens. I don't want to see any major earthquake out there, but you just never know. Latest earthquake right now, what do we got there? 5.2. Where's that occurring here? It's kind of a moderate size earthquake. Okay, out here in the... Wow, got another deeper earthquake activity out there around Fiji once again. You can see that 4.6 striking at about almost 582 kilometers below the surface. Seeing some more deep movement out there, and it's not uncommon. This is where we're seeing a lot of deep activity in the past. The 5.2 occurring just west of that region, southwest of the Fiji Islands region, 65 kilometers below the surface. And for now, that's the latest earthquake coming in. Play safe out there, folks. We'll chat you guys another time. Peace.